Hello, everyone. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about, um, gosh, pain, heartbreak, relationships, love, the human experience, all these things. And, I sometimes I think people maybe get a little bit of a wrong impression about what it is that I do, or when I work with clients and stuff. I teach this concept of emotional resiliency, and I teach this idea that you can create whatever human experience it is that you're looking for, right? If you want joy, abundance, love, creativity, compassion, gratitude, all these things are available to us, connection. And so many people focus on the positive things, because I do teach that you can have whatever life it is that you want. That's part of what we do. But the thing that I think so often gets missed is that it's not just all about feeling happy all the time or having positive experiences. What I do is really invite people into having what I call the full human experience, right? And so I teach pain, and I teach heartbreak, and I teach vulnerability, and I teach, how to deal with confusion and self-doubt and anger, and all of these other things are also a part of the human experience. This is a part of life, right? And so I try to be really open and upfront with the fact that if you're going to come and do this work with me, it's not going to just be feel good work, right? This is not about feeling good all of the time. This is about being open to anything. My mission statement, my business, is to set people free from whatever's keeping them from fully experiencing life, right? As it exists in their wildest dreams. And so I think so many people shut themselves down to the things that they really want, and they stop dreaming, they stop believing that things are possible. I call it dream fatigue. So many people, they don't want to be disappointed again, and so they live disappointed instead, because that seems easier. And there is this component of, for sure, I want people to be able to recognize and realize that no matter what you're going through, you don't have to shut yourself down, you don't have to shut yourself off. There is another way of approaching life, where you can really open up your heart to everything that life has to offer. And so that's why I teach resiliency. I teach resiliency, identity, and authenticity, right? I teach people to be resilient in the face of pain, in the face of heartbreak. I teach people to be resilient in the face of confusion, to make decisions. I teach people all this stuff and how to live a life that's really authentic to them. And I want to share a little bit of my experience and some of the things that I've been going through, even over the last couple of years, and sort of give you a little bit of a picture, fuller picture of what it is that I'm talking about. And I've been talking the last, couple weeks or months for sure, about your relationships and creating relationships you love. I have this class, that's going to be coming up, this 6-week series on creating relationships you love, and sort of a mini coaching package. And so I've been talking a lot about what that means, some of the components that go into that. And I've been talking about anxious versus avoidant attachment styles, right? And all this kind of stuff. Well, it was interesting as I was going through cleaning up my office, just some of my paperwork and old stuff that's been in this drawer forever. And I'm like, what? I don't even know what's in this box, right? I'm trying to kind of get organized and clean things up. And I came across this old song actually that I wrote when I first got a guitar. I don't really know how to play the guitar, but I thought I would learn, right? And so when I first was dinking around with that, I wrote a few songs. And so this is really old, but it was so crazy when I saw this. I used to be so shut off to the world emotionally, really walled up. When we talk about avoidant, attachment styles, I was highly avoidant. Oh, crazy. When I came back and read this was such a place that I was in, and so totally different from where I am now. And I've had so many women reaching out to me lately and talking about how they have a hard time trusting, right? And how their heart is pretty closed off, and all the pain that comes with that. And I know what that feels like because I've been there. And so I actually am getting ready to open up a beta program coming up here soon, called Women with Walls, and it's going to be a coaching program on that. And it was just so interesting that I found this just as all this is kind of happening, and I wanted to read this to you. and then we'll talk a little bit about what it feels like to be in this place and maybe what the alternative is, and sort of invite you to consider stepping into that. And so this is a song that I wrote probably in my early 20s. And it's called City of Stone. And it goes like this. There's a tale of a child found lost and alone, and the child was raised among a city of stones. Once she let her heart free from its rocky cage, but it went and betrayed her like a moth to a flame. For her heart felt too deeply, and it could not be controlled. She was sent back to live in her city of stone. If you come across her, you'll know her by her face. It's like a weather-worn statue with no emotion left to trace. Don't you dare try to love her. Just put those thoughts to rest. For her heart is a twisted labyrinth, and she likes lonesome roads the best. Now they tell of a woman, old and alone, and she dies of soulless affect in her city of stone. So if you meet with a child whose heart has no home, will you offer her some affection before it turns into stone? For there is no tender touch in that city of stone. That was really an expression of the way that I lived most of my life. I was pretty walled off to emotions, to love, to anything, and I didn't want to get hurt, right? And so I see so many women who live this way, right? They're armored, and I know how lonely it feels. I know what it feels like to want connection and love and intimacy and all the things, but we're so fucking scared, right? We're so scared to get naked and to be vulnerable and to let down our guard, because what happens if we go to that place of affection and connection and intimacy and vulnerability? What if we let our heart out and give it to somebody and it gets broken, right? Like it feels like we can't handle that kind of pain, right? It feels like it's just too much. We can't risk it. And what I want to invite you to do, if it's something that you want, is I want to invite you to risk it. Because I want to tell you, I know what it feels like to live there, and it's a very lonely place to live. And it's painful too, right? That's painful too. And so for me, over a series of years, I was able to kind of muster my courage and grow that bravery to step into that place and begin risking my heart, you know. And I want to tell you, over the last couple of years, I have, you know, had the honor of being in one of the most beautiful relationships that I've ever had. I've had the honor of falling more deeply in love than I've ever fallen before. And I've had the honor of planning a life with someone, right? I don't know if you guys know this or not, but for a while there, last past year, I was engaged and I had planned, you know, to get married and have kids. And I had this beautiful life planned with this person, right? And when we ended up, you know, moving in together and sort of making plans to move forward, there were things that began to come up in our relationship. There were challenges and fights, and we started to butt heads and trigger each other in ways that were deeply painful. And so we had to work through so much and kind of figure out what's going on here with this relationship. And my heart was pretty raw. I can tell you, there was pain involved in that, but there was also so much love and so much growth. And these tools that I'm going to teach you over the 6-week course that's coming up, Creating Relationships You Love. What I want to tell you about these tools is that it's so, you know, it's so easy. And especially with all the coaching tools and the clients, again, this kind of comes back to this idea of expectations around that it's just going to be happy all the time. And that's not what this is about. These are tools that I have learned over the last couple of years and really had the opportunity to apply even in that relationship. And I can tell you that they work, right? These tools have transformed that relationship. We had some really horrible fights, and some fights that would last, a week, 2 weeks. I mean, it just really would impact our relationship in such deep ways. And over the course of the year and a half, that once those things started to happen and come up, and there was kind of tumultuous things, and we began to apply some of these tools and how to have conversations, how to communicate with each other, right? How can I show up in love even when I'm angry, and how can I be a better partner, and how can I listen, before I it's so many people, we want to be heard and understood, and we care so much about getting our point across, but we never take the time to do that for another person, right? And so all this stuff is really transformational. But what I want to tell you is that it's not a magic bullet. This is not a guarantee of, okay, I'm going to be with this person forever and we're going to grow old together. It's about creating a relationship that you love, and a loving relationship. And that can look a lot of different ways. And that's why at the end we're going to talk about when to leave and when to stay, because at the end of all of this, you may decide to leave or they may decide to leave. And that doesn't mean that it didn't work or that it's a failure. And I want to talk a little bit about that too, because again, this is about having a full human experience. And even in this relationship, I will say I watched our relationship transform in phenomenal ways, like really positive ways. And by the end of this whole journey together, my partner ended up deciding that she wanted to leave. And that was totally okay. And it was not from a place, our relationship, it didn't come from this place of, hating each other, or, for me, it's like I was happy in that relationship, and I could have been happy in that relationship for many years. Didn't mean that there weren't challenges. It didn't mean that there weren't arguments or hard things, but to me, in my brain, that doesn't mean that anything has gone wrong, right? And I have these tools to be able to have conversations and set expectations and boundaries, and you get to a place where you can really love and respect each other, right? But what I want to say is, when you begin to apply these tools, what can happen sometimes is it will create this place of, it can create clarity, right? So it's sort of like the calm after the storm, right? When things calm down and you're able to see each other and really hear each other and understand, what is it that I want in life? What do I want my relationships to feel like? Do I really want kids? Do I want this? And you get to ask yourself, what do I want? And that's a powerful question. And when we talk about when to leave and when to stay, that's a place to make those decisions from, right? When you can get to a place of, I love you, I see you, I care about you, I respect you, right? And I love myself. And let's talk about, what do we want? And it might happen that what you want and what this person wants, they might be different. And that's okay. So you can still have that relationship where you love each other, you respect each other, you care about each other. And sometimes that means setting that person free to go and live a life that they want, if it is in fact different than what you want. Sometimes our communications gets muddled and we don't even know what we want, right? We get kind of wrapped up in other things. And so, I like to use the analogy of, like, maybe if you're at a job, and the thing with this relationship is, I am so grateful for that relationship, and I loved that relationship, and I still am so glad that I had it. And what I want to say about it is, not only did it give me an opportunity to really master these tools in ways that I had really struggled with before, we had beautiful conversations, we had beautiful conflicts and fights, and to be able to see us go through that process of being able to resolve things so much faster. And a fight that would have lasted a week, by the end was an hour. And at the end, I could say, I could ask her, do you feel seen? Do you feel heard? Do you feel respected? Like, are we, have I honored your request and your expectations, and all that? And yes, and okay, now we can move on. And really powerful skills that will transform your relationships. And at the end of it all, like, sometimes when you grow your relationship with yourself in all of this, you realize things that you want in that other person. So I like to use the analogy of, let's say, at a job, right? You grow your own knowledge of what you like to do, or maybe you started out doing kind of field work. And then you realize like, actually, I want to be a manager, and you go and you take management classes, maybe you even get a degree in it, whatever. And so you sort of change and grow in that relationship, in that relationship with your work and with your professional career. And maybe you get to a point where you want to be able to offer your work in a different way. So maybe you want a managerial position and there's just not one available there. Or maybe you now know that you deserve higher pay, right? That you want higher pay. So maybe you're like, hey, I'm at a point where I can be and want to be making $30 an hour, but I'm only getting paid 15 or 20. And so maybe you go to your boss, let's say, and you have that conversation like, hey, here's the things that I really want to be doing. And I'd love to be doing that in this company. And is that an option? And here's what that's worth. So I want to be making $30 an hour. And maybe your boss sees that and says, yeah, you're a fucking rock star. You are worth $30 an hour. I really wish I could pay you that. Unfortunately, we don't have any managerial positions available right now. And for me to pay you $30 an hour at the position that you're in now, that would really sink my business. That would sink our company. Like, we don't have that to give. It wouldn't be good for me. It wouldn't be good for the company. But also I understand that for you to stay with the way that things are right now, maybe that would cause resentment, or that's not what's best for you. And so maybe from that place of total love and communication and mutual respect and mutual understanding, maybe you decide that it's better. Why don't you go get to find another job where there is that available to you, where you can have the position and everything that you want, where you can express yourself the way that you want to express yourself, where you can be poured into as much as you want to be poured into, right? And maybe you don't want to ask that current person to be able to show up for you in ways that are going to be painful for them or difficult for them, or that are going to cause them distress, right? And so that can happen in our relationships, and it's totally okay. And this is part of it. Doesn't mean that there's not pain or ache. It doesn't mean that it's not painful to say goodbye to someone, or to change your dynamic, your relationship dynamic, or to move things around. Our dreams transform as we grow. That's the thing about a dream. Doesn't mean that your dreams don't come true. Doesn't mean that the relationship was a failure. That relationship was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was a total success. That relationship literally walked me home to the person that I am. That relationship literally created I am the best version of myself that I have ever been. I am so abundantly happy, and I am so just filled with clarity about who I am and what I want and what I have to offer the world, and what I want in relationships, and all these things that I learned going through that relationship. It was powerful, right? And I still love that person. I still love her. Of course I do. And so it's just, I think so often we get our heads sort of narrowed into, well, this is how it has to look. And so what I want to invite you to consider is that, did I get my heart broken? Did I get hurt? Of course, there was pain. Was it worth it? Absolutely. And this is where I teach emotional resiliency, because there is going to be pain. If you choose to fall in love, you're going to experience pain. You're going to be disappointed, you're going to get angry, you're going to get frustrated. There's going to be all that stuff. It's going to come up. And maybe that relationship will last 30 years. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe it'll last 3 years. But no matter how long it lasts, sometimes I think about it like a plant too, right? Some plants and bloom for a season, some bloom for many years. They're all different, right? They all look different, and they bloom at different paces, right? And so things sort of ebb and flow and come and go. And instead of trying to control the outcome, what if we just chose to show up in that relationship as the happiest, healthiest version of ourselves, willing to see the other person, to communicate with them? What if we were willing to let down our guard, to really give our heart fully, and to know that if the worst should happen, this person that I loved and committed my... Are we still rolling? Something just happened with with my internet connection. Though I stepped into that relationship and gave my whole heart, that it ended up that this person decided to leave, right? That's like our worst fears. Like, rejection and I don't love you and whatever, which none of those things are true. Of course she loves me. And so there's a way that we can walk through life and not have it shatter us, right? I know that I can handle anything. I know that I can handle pain. I know that I can handle heartbreak. And I know that I can continue to be vulnerable. And so it would be easy for me now as I'm like kind of beginning to like get back out into the dating world, right? And so here I am like laying myself bare again. And of course, I'm human. My brain wants to be like, Robin, this is scary, but there was this person that you fell in love with and you gave your whole heart to, and you went all in, and she left, right? That's what your brain is saying. She left. And it's like, she gets to leave. Like, that's okay. And I have to realize, like, I can feel the apprehension, and maybe we should just like kind of put those walls back up again. Maybe we shouldn't, I don't know. That was pretty painful, right? But here's the thing. It's like, no, I want that. I want that because I experienced more connection, more love, more vision for my life. I experienced more of myself. I grew into this person that I would never trade in a million years out of all of that. So even in this moment, do I feel pain? Of course I do. And I love it because it reminds me that I am alive in this human experience. It's a pain that's clean. It's a clean pain. It's a pain that I can breathe through. It feels right. It feels right and real and authentic and alive. It's so different than the pain that I felt here. The pain that I felt when I was in that castle, all armored up, that was a pain that was like dirty. And it was a pain that was like, oh God, there's a kind of pain that comes with integrity. And it feels so much better than the pain that you feel when you tell a lie. Or there's a pain that comes when you stand up and you say, this is who I am. And this is what I want. For example, doing this Facebook Live, I could get comments and people could just say, well, you just shut the fuck up. Nobody cares about your story or what you're going through or, whatever. They might say all kinds of nasty things. Sometimes that happens and that can be painful. But I would rather have that kind of pain, me showing up in order to change somebody else's life. I desperately want all these people that are emailing me and saying, Robin, I can't trust. I've been hurt. She left. All these things. I get these emails from these women that are in pain. I don't know how I can trust again. My heart feels pretty, I'm so protective of it. Right. And I know what that feels like. And so I want to invite them to feel a different kind of pain, right? That kind of pain, there's a pain that's like when we add shame. We add shame to our breakup. So if I said, this person broke up with me and I could think thoughts and believe things about myself that I wasn't good enough. She doesn't love me. I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. I'll never find love again. I'll never have the things that I want in my life, right? I could think all those kinds of thoughts. And so when we add shame and all this nasty like self-pity, right? When I add that crap onto the breakup, let's say, the heartbreak, now it's like suffering that's so unnecessary. Right. And it's the same when I wall myself off, when I don't allow myself to be vulnerable, to move into connection and intimacy. You're still experiencing pain, but it's the pain of isolation. It's the pain of when I wouldn't come out to my family for decades, right? I never talked to my family about who I really was. I didn't want them to know I was queer because what if they reject me? What if I don't get to see my nieces and nephews? So I was hiding, wasn't I? I was hiding behind my walls, never really being fully authentic. And that was painful. Friends, I want to tell you that was more painful. Have I experienced rejection and judgment since coming out to my family? Abso-fucking-lutely. Yes, I did. But that pain felt clean. It felt real. The pain of my brother calling me when he found out I was engaged to tell me that it was a sin and blah, blah, all the stuff, right? Was that painful? Yes, that was not comfortable. That was painful. Or for my brother to say, yeah, you can bring your girlfriend over, but just don't be gay. I don't want any public affection. We're just going to tell everyone she's your friend. Oh, that's painful, right? It's like you don't really get to be yourself. So there's pain, but I would far prefer that pain where I am standing up for myself. I am in my integrity. I'm authentic. I'm showing who I am. I'm shining my light. I'm being myself. That's the kind of pain that I want to experience. I don't want the pain of hiding and of isolating and of cutting myself off from connection to myself and to other people. I want the pain of going through a relationship and at the end deciding, having my partner say, you know what? God, you're a beautiful person and I love you. And I don't think I can give you what you want. Thank you for telling me. That's a gift. That's a gift. I get to stand up and say, this is the thing. These are the things that I want in the world. I want kids. I want babies. I want a house. I want marriage. I want all the things, right? I want to be treated like a princess. I want to be spoiled. I want to be able to show up and make demands that are unreasonable, right? I want to be able to say, I want to be able to be weak. I want a place I can fall. I don't always want to have to be strong. I want to be able to be vulnerable. I want to be able to be tired. I want to be able to make mistakes. I want to be able to say that I'm feeling jealous or hurt or rejected. I want to be able to be emotionally needy at times and have a partner that cares about that, right? I want to be able to be myself. And so sometimes that comes with pain. Sometimes that comes with rejection. Sometimes that comes with someone saying, I love you. I hear that you want to make $30 an hour. I'm not capable of paying that. I don't want to pay that. That feels like too much for me. And that would sink my business or my family or my happiness or whatever. And so I'm going to set you free to go find a place where you can have that. That might be pain, but it's the right kind of pain. Okay, that's all I really wanted to say today. If you're one of those people that are out there and you're struggling with how to trust again, if you're struggling with that fear of getting hurt, I want to teach you how can you go through heartbreak and have it be a beautiful experience. Painful, but beautiful. That's what I want to invite you guys to. So if this is something that you guys want to talk about, if you want to go through the 6-week series with us, if you want to sit down and talk with me one-on-one about what you're going through, I want to invite you to experience all the things in life. Don't just shut yourself off and say, I only want the good shit. Because if you only want the good shit, then you're limiting yourself. There's this full human experience and it's phenomenal. It's beautiful. And I really want to invite you to step into that, because when you're not afraid anymore of rejection, of hurt, of heartbreak, of disappointment, of anger, when you're able to feel frustrated and know that nothing's gone wrong, you're so much more powerful. You're so much more powerful in your relationships. You're able to love other people in a way that you have never experienced before. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to show up. So I love you guys. I hope you're having a beautiful day and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.